From Chelsea Handler's most recent book, I'll Have What She's Having. The chapters aren't numbered, just the page number, but I'm going to start with De Facto Parenting. Just because it looked like an interesting title. Let's see. Alright. 5 years after we first met, Whoopsie and Oopsie were still in my life. Poopsie had gone off to college, and I would hear from her occasionally, but she was living her new life. I was traveling again, performing, and I wasn't around as much as I had been when I first met the girls. Whenever I was in LA, I went to their school plays and soccer games and took them out for dinner, all the while getting sideways glances from the other parents at their school, who were wondering what the hell I was doing, hanging around with other people's children. By this point, their dad and I were on better terms, and we had an open dialogue about the girls and the time I was spending with them. He thanked me for the difference I had made in their lives. He said that it made him want to be a better father, and that my time with their family had shown him what it meant to be present, consistent, and available. That his relationship with the girls had improved drastically. And also, was there any way I could take the two girls away for part of their summer? He and his ex would both be traveling for the month of July, and Poopsie had gotten herself a summer internship, so the two girls were on their own. A few of my friends said that I was allowing myself to be manipulated by both my ex and his ex-wife. They said I had become a nanny and I was being completely taken advantage of. Some of my friends questioned my level of involvement in these kids' lives and suggested that problems would arise, not only with my ex-boyfriend, but with any future girlfriends he might have, with their mom, and with the girls themselves. I didn't give a shit. I didn't care if I was being manipulated by the parents. I loved these girls, and I wasn't going to let the worry of potential future problems interrupt what joyfulness we were all experiencing in the present. The girls and I had bonded, and there was no going back. I wasn't going to abandon them, ever. Especially when I had the means to bring them with me whenever I could. So that summer, I took the younger girls with me on my summer vacation to Mallorca. At the height of their adolescent angst, I wanted them to see how big and beautiful this world is, how small TikTok is, how silly middle school cliques are, and that peace and harmony exist on a planet that can seem terribly cruel. To say this was a challenging trip would be an understatement, because the girls had been through a lot, and there was a lot of fighting, a lot of tension, and a lot of bad habits of communication. Jealousy, trauma, neglect, all of it came crashing down. And it made for a lot of emotional highs and lows. One of my nieces, who was also on the trip, told me that thinking I could heal them by taking them to Mallorca was a mistake. I didn't think that Mallorca would be a magic wand. I thought that it would be healing to take them, and that oftentimes healing doesn't happen in the moment. It can happen in many moments, and long after the trip itself, more healing can take place. To me, this trip was part of a process, an example of letting them know that there is another person in their lives who is going to be consistent with their love, consistent with their care, and someone who will keep showing up. The girls were now 13 and 14. Their hormones were in full swing, and it was a lot different from snuggling with an 8-year-old. They fought with each other constantly, and when they weren't fighting with each other, they were fighting about who was getting more attention. It's pretty exhausting to always feel like I couldn't do anything right. The three of us had grown so close, it was like we were our own little family. So, when we returned from Mallorca, like any responsible step-parent, I took it upon myself to reach out to a family psychologist who specializes in parental coaching, and I started taking weekly parenting classes. Yes, you read that right. The person who is pilloried for being anti-children was now taking weekly parenting classes, and I was learning a ton. I learned about parentification, which is when the parent has placed too much responsibility on the child, who in turn becomes dominant because they are now involved in their own parenting, which leads them to believe their parent is not capable on my own. This dominant behavior in adolescence especially is a result of feeling unsafe and not secure in their own home and family dynamic. Essentially, the child is scared, and in turn, they become dominant as a defense mechanism. The response to this is to show up consistently, provide safety and security through food, presence, positive reinforcement, and lots of love. Consistency is the key. I'd have to regularly show up, to always reinforce that I am available, and to check in with the girls all the time, especially when I went to Whistler for the winter. Since they've had so much separation in their lives, I learned that during any separation, it is very important to constantly check in, to reassure them in my absence that I was still available, to keep distributing my love evenly, and to not participate in any of the arguing going on between them or between them and their parents, to provide a safe haven, to love them up. My part-time parenting needed to shift into full-time parenting, so I stepped up my game and made sure I became a constant presence instead of a seasonal one. I took my parenting classes pretty seriously because I was learning so much about my own childhood rebellion and about children and parents in general. I started from a place of discipline and bribery and thought I could whip the girls into shape by leveraging all I had to offer. I learned that parenting is not bribery, but unadulterated, uninterrupted love. To feed them with love, and when they are scared, to feed them with more love. To let them know I am not going anywhere. To be constant and to show up when things are good and when they are bad. To sit in silence when no one wants to talk, but to remain as a presence. To not meet them with anger when they are angry and act out. To meet them with love. To reward them for good behavior and to be there in the bad. To tell them they are beautiful inside and out. To talk about how valuable knowledge is and encourage them to study and keep reading, and to make sure they each know that they are a priority in my life. But also to make time for fun, to stay awake for board games I don't care about, to have patience for the trivialness that comes with teen angst, to let them do my hair and makeup, even though I'd rather not sit down to get my hair and makeup done, to watch videos of things I'll never remember, to remain interested in any interest they have, to understand that as long as someone can cry, their heart is still soft and loving and there is vulnerability, to show them sacrifice, to show them how big the world is and how much of an impact you can have on others, and to never get angry, that you can't heal anyone with anger. One night, I took Whoopsie and some of her friends to see Fortune Feimster's stand-up show in Los Angeles. We hung out backstage with Fortune after the show, and then we all headed back home. Father, do you want to listen to the playlist I play when I want to relax? Whoopsie asked me as we sat in the back seat holding hands on the drive home. Obviously, I told her, squeezing her hand. She played music by this young artist named Waxahachie, a world I hadn't known of hers. We sat listening to one song after another on her playlist, while she shared her own private world of music, the songs that soothe and inspire her. I wondered how many other secrets and private cup filler-uppers she had in her life that I hadn't yet been introduced to. She was only 14 now, but she had a whole world of her own, a whole life of her own, and I felt deep love in my heart for her individuality and her desire to share it with me. I told her how beautiful her music was, that I was so happy to hear it and know that she had a playlist like this. Will you send me this playlist so that when I'm on the road I can listen to it and think of you? I asked her. Father, this is one of the memories I'm going to write down tonight. This is a core memory, she told me. When Whoopsie looks at me, it is with heaps of rainbows in her eyes, and it melts me every time. I'll save it with Fortune's backstage pass. I've saved every plane ticket, every show pass, every picture, and I write down everything we've ever done together, because you have given me so many memories, and you're the best father I've ever had. So when people tell me I'm irresponsible for spreading positive messages about remaining childless, I smile, knowing that I have been a parent to many, and knowing the biggest gift I have ever been given was becoming a father.